Di video pembelajaran bahasa Inggris kali ini, kita akan membaca sebuah cerita yang berjudul A Real Caribbean Adventure. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. 2 years ago, I had to do a 10-page paper for my history class. It was a very interesting class about European powers in the New World. I did my study on the difference between British and Spanish interest in the New World. As you know, I do not like to do what everyone else does, so I did my report on one of the strangest wars in all history, the War of Jenkins' Ear, 1739 until 42. The war took place more than 250 years ago in one of the most beautiful places in all the world, the Caribbean Sea. It was between two of the most powerful countries on earth, Great Britain and Spain. The English name of the War of Jenkins' Ear, came from an unlucky English seaman, Mr. Robert Jenkins, who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was unlucky because the Spanish took his ear off with a sword and sent him, together with his ear, back to the English. In his pocket, there was a letter from the Spanish that said the British king had no business in the Caribbean Sea and should get out while he was still able. The fact that the Spanish took off poor Mr. Jenkins' ear with a sword was a sign of the level of violence they seemed ready for. The British reaction was, as you might think, if Spain wants war, she can have it. But in fact, it was the British who wanted war, and so they made use of the loss of Jenkins' ear as a reason for it. Because they were ready for war, the British were able to send many battleships into the area in a very short time. I am sorry to say there was a terrible loss of life on both sides. What was of interest to me were not the terrible events of the war, nor the economic, political, or military causes of the war, nor even poor Mr. Jenkins. My interest was in something quite different and much more important, at least more important to me. It all came about one day while I was in our university library at work on my paper. I came across a very old book, part of which was a report by the captain of an English warship. In his report, the captain gave all the details about his battle with a Spanish warship that took place on April 12, 1741. He said that after a short and bloody battle, he and his able seamen sent the enemy warship to the bottom of the sea. His men took quite a few Spanish seamen out of the water. One of those seamen, who knew a little English, said that the ship was on its way from Mexico to Spain. The Spanish captain, who went down with his ship, as all good captains should do, had orders to make a stop in Cuba and then go on to Spain. The seaman also said there were quite a few boxes of gold on board the ship. In fact, he said that there might be as much as 2,500 pounds of gold on board. At today's prices, that is about $16 million. The English captain said that he and his men made many attempts to get the gold, but the water was too deep, and so in the end, they had to give up their attempts and go back to England with empty hands. Together with this report, there was not one, not two, but 3 maps that gave every detail of the area. Now you see how meaningful the discovery of this report was to me. I have quite a few friends from around the world, international friends, who like to do new things, who like to have high adventures. We always say, the stranger the better. I thought, why not put our heads together and make a high-tech or high-technology attempt to get that gold, if it is still there. If it is there, great, we'll be rich. And if it is not, so what? This kind of chance does not come along every day. I sent my international friends a letter by computer, and in a few hours I got answers from 6 of them who were free and excited about my idea for a Caribbean adventure. Some of them even said it was the chance of a lifetime or a dream come true. We all took flights from the 4 corners of the world to San Juan, Puerto Rico, Ali came from Egypt, Henry came from France, Paul came from Russia, Lee came from China, Richard came from Mexico, and Peter came from Brazil. We all got to know one another when we were students at the University of Chicago. Peter and I had a room together in the International House, which is a living place for foreign students. The university liked to have an American and a foreign students living together. That way, both got to know about one another's country and maybe even become lifelong friends. That's the way it was with Peter and me. Peter and I had a lot in common. We both liked European football very much. Peter was a much better player than I. But as you know, for Brazilians, football is their national sport. They are all wild about it. Brazil got the World Cup 4 times: 1958, 1962, 1970, and 1994. That is more than any other nation so far. There is one other thing you should know about Brazilians. They know how to have fun. They know how to put on a party. They are professional party givers. I never had so much fun as when I was a student. Thanks to Peter, we had the best parties at the International House. They were real events open to everyone and anyone. Every one of my friends who took part in this Caribbean adventure, Ali, Henry, Paul, Lee, Richard, and Peter, is a very special person. We all have a lot of experience and know-how. I'm sure that if we put our heads together, we can do anything. We are all in good physical condition. We are all very good swimmers. We all like the outdoor life, and the ocean has a special meaning for us. Though English is our common language, everyone knows a little Spanish, and with Richard's help, we were able to get along very well in Puerto Rico, where most know both English and Spanish. From San Juan's International Airport, after we got our bags, we took a taxi to one of the city's first-class hotels. It was an oceanfront hotel right on the beach where many children were at play. We already had reservation, so our check-in went fast. We gave the hotel manager all the necessary information and our credit cards. The hotel manager, for his part, was nice enough to give us all rooms on the same floor. This made it very easy for us to get together for our talks. I must say that one of the first things we did was to send picture postcards home to make our families and friends even more jealous than they already were. After our check-in, though we were a little tired from our flight, we had a shower and then went down to the hotel dining room for lunch. That was when I gave the team a general picture of the adventure that was before us. After lunch, we went up to my room, which was on the 10th floor, where I put all the details before them. Everyone seemed to think that the work before us was quite doable. A few questions came up, but in general, we were in complete agreement. We made a division of our work, so everyone knew what we had to do. I was responsible for the boat, so I took a look at the yellow pages of the telephone book under the word boats. I made a few telephone calls, and at last, I made a decision about our boat. It was a 40-foot sailboat, less than 5 years old. It had very good professional equipment for undersea work, air pumps, and so on. At a meeting with the owner or captain, it seemed to me that he had the kind of experience and know-how that were necessary for our adventure to be successful. We soon came to an agreement. Early the next morning, as soon as we were through with our hotel checkout, we all went down to the harbor and got on the boat, Seabird. It was only a little after sun-up, so there was still some fog. When we were all ready, the sailors put up the sails and away we went. We went out of the harbor and into the deep water of the open sea. Soon the sun came through the fog and it became a picture-perfect day. It seems to me that we were in a different world with only the sounds of the wind in the sails and the waves against the sides of our seabird. It is this kind of experience that makes people think about a sailboat trip around the world. Life could not be better. About an hour before sundown, we got to the place where there was an X on those old English maps. It was too late to do anything. We had a 10-hour wait. The ship's cook made us a delicious seafood dinner. Because we were all excited, it was difficult to go to sleep. Even after the lights were out, there was not much talk. Everyone seems to be in his own private dream world. Then, all too soon, it was morning, time to put our plane into action. First, we sent our underwater camera down into the water to take a look for that Spanish ship. I am sorry to say this first attempt was not too successful. The pictures were not clear enough. There was nothing else for us to do but go down. We made two teams out of our group. The A team, Peter, Paul, and Henry, went down first. They put on their underwater suits and then their lungs so everyone had his own independent air supply. This was their life support system, made necessary by the fact that they had to go very deep, down to the bottom of the sea, and be there for at least 30 minutes. They all had radios, so they were able to have direct contact with one another and with those of us still on board the boat. They took their time, and only when they were quite sure everything was ready and everyone was safe, did the three adventurers go over the side of the boat and down, down, down to an underwater world. This was very serious business, anything but child's play. Henry, in a very excited voice, said to me on his radio, "George, it's a very different world down here. I can't put into words the wonderful things I see." Peter said almost the same thing. Paul said, "You will have to come down here and see it all with your own eyes." When our three friends came back up, our B team, Ali, Lee, Richard, and I put our wetsuits on and got ready to go over the side. When we went down, it was true, we seemed to be in a different world. There were thousands and thousands of fish everywhere, all sizes and all colors, big ones and little ones, beautiful ones and not so beautiful ones. But there was no Spanish ship and no Mexican gold. But as they say, that's life. Baiklah, sampai di sini video pembelajaran bahasa Inggris yang membahas cerita A Real Caribbean Adventure. Semoga bermanfaat and thank you for watching.